Good evening and welcome to the Bonita Unified School District Candidate Forum, School Board Candidate Forum. A public forum shall afford an opportunity for all candidates to present views and candidacy in an impartial, nonpartisan setting. I'd like to introduce the candidates, and these are using the published ballot order. We have Brittany Allison, Greg Pilato, Joe Otto, Christopher Eric Matson, Krista Chakmak, Glenn Kryman, Afshin Kavan Mayer, and Crystal Jones Bacon. Welcome all. We will give time for opening remarks by the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes each. The rules will be written questions from the audience collected prior to the forum via email, reviewed by the question sorters. Questions on the same topic may be consolidated to one question. Questions must be relevant to the position being sought. Questions will be asked in rotation, again published by ballot order. Questions worded as personal attacks on the candidates will be rejected. Questions directed to all, their response time is 1 minute, 30 seconds each. The timer will start when the speaker begins or 10 seconds after the questions have been asked. Now we'll go ahead and start with the opening remarks. Again, each candidate will have 2 minutes, and we'll start with Miss Allison.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the Chambers for hosting, to Marilyn Sparks for moderating, and most importantly to the community members for watching. Media ratings thrive off causing division, but communities thrive when we seek to understand first, communicate from a place of empathy, and keep our common goal in mind, striving for excellence in every aspect of our district for every aspect of every one of our students. This is what I'm determined to do. I've said it before. In times of uncertainty, we need to look for leaders who will listen and learn, and then think creatively, critically, and comprehensively about every decision that comes before them. I have teaching experience, but I understand that every classroom is different. I seek to listen and learn. I have parenting experience, but I know each kid and every family is unique. I seek to listen and learn. And I have shown my ability to listen and learn through my developing and executing numerous programs and dialogues alongside various community partners and on a shoestring nonprofit budget. I am not on this stage today because I have all the answers. None of us do. I am here because I want to do my part and contribute to finding collective solutions. I'm here because I am confident that I have the experience and skills to do so. And I ask that you come alongside me in this vision of empowering education, empowering teachers and staff to do their best work, empowering students to be full partners in their education, and empowering parents and family to come alongside and engage and support this educational journey. Come with me and empower education and pursue collective solutions. Let's keep in mind the common goal. It is quite literally for the kids. So tonight I ask that you support me and vote Brittany Allison for Bonita Unified School District. Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Pilato.
Hi there. I'm Greg Pilato, and I'm excited and blessed to be here tonight to share why I believe that my voice and perspective will be valuable for our school board. But first, thank you to the Chambers, our camera crew, and you at home, because this night needs to be possible so you guys are more informed voters. I live in Laverne with my wife and 2 kids. My daughter attends Grace Miller Elementary, and my son attends Ramona Middle School. We moved here to Bonita because of how great this school district is and how safe our community is. Bonita does an amazing job with academic excellence, preparing kids for college, and it's a reason why we came. But I think we can do just a little bit better for those kids who need those extra supports or who are not on that traditional track. My training and experience as a school psychologist gives me that unique view to provide that perspective for the board. Bonita has made a great investment in mental health already, and I want to ensure that it continues and is not cut. I want to build a culture in special ed that really puts the I in IEP. I also know not all of our kids have the same path to success. I want to make sure that when all our kids graduate, we will prepare them at the best level we can to be college or career ready, and I really want to support and expand our trade education and career pathways. School safety is also very important to me. It's very important to know that when we all drop our kids off at school, that they're going to be safe. And I fully support our SROs and a positive, physically safe campus. I've been blessed to be endorsed by most members, most elected officials of both of our cities that make up Bonita, by our school staff and teachers, by our law enforcement association, but most importantly, by many, many families who put their trust in me with my vision and my voice to make sure that our kids, all of our kids, are successful. Thank you.
Mr. Joe Otto.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Joe Otto, and thank you to the Chamber for setting this up for us. I think this is a great opportunity. I live in Laverne with my wife and my 6-year-old daughter Zoe, who goes to Oak Mesa, and I own a plumbing business in San Dimas, so I'm duly invested in this community. I'm also, in addition to that, I'm on the PTA board at Oak Mesa, and I'm also the chairman of the Oak Mesa School Site Council. And I think what really separates me from, from everyone else in this position is I'm a blue-collar plumber. I'm a tradesman who went to college first. And one thing I think is crucial in this day and age is that we give our children every possible pathway to be successful. Now, for some kids, that means going to college, which is a great opportunity, but not everyone is meant for college or meant for that particular pathway. And I think it's crucial that we show that you can be successful if you go to college, but you could also be successful as a plumber, as a carpenter, as an HVAC technician. There's so many opportunities out there that I feel like we're not giving our kids the right push towards. We need to glorify the trades just as much as we glorify, college and other options for our kids as well. In addition to that, I'm not a politician. I didn't prepare any of this. I'm speaking from my mind right now. And one thing I think that separates me is I'm not afraid to tell it like it is, and I'm not afraid to go after the injustices that I see. For example, as a school board member, I have no problem making the tough calls and calling out those people and those institutions that may be getting in the way of our district being the best it can be. So if you are looking for a board member who's not afraid to make those tough calls, not afraid to make the unpopular decisions that are best for our kids, I think you should give me a shot and give me your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Mr. Christopher Matson.
Hello, I'm a parent of a San Dimas freshman and a Gladstone 5th grader. We moved here just under 5 years ago. My wife usually works out of town a lot. Our nearest family is over 1,000 miles away, and only now, with my girls old enough, is this possible. I realize few people know me, and I'm not spending much, but I'm here for a reason. I grew up in Washington State as a low-income kid in a broken family, and I struggled with a lot. Yet here I am, with more college degrees than anyone here or on the board, because people helped me learn how to believe in myself. And that's why I've dedicated my life to learning and helping others do the same. I'm an educator. Learning, behavior, and organizational change are what I know best. COVID-19 is also not our only crisis. Our schools were already struggling to compete with devices, social media, online gaming, and the loneliness we create. And I realize a doctoral degree in education like I have is not needed, but maybe someone on the board should have one. Our kids are craving meaningful connections, interactions, opportunities, and the ability to believe they have real purpose. In my professional opinion, these are currently too few, too narrow, passive, and/or too shallow. We have students, teachers, and staff making an impact. Don't get me wrong, I've seen it. But without a unified plan and board members that understand, our kids will be wanting more. My name is Christopher Eric Matson. I'm here because I can help.
Miss Krista Chakmak.
Good evening. My name is Krista Chakmak, and I was appointed to the current board I was appointed to my current board member position in May 2020. During these challenging times we're experiencing, I chose to join the board and lead from the inside. I decided to campaign to retain my board position and continue to serve, collaborate with, and lead this community. The choice to take this path hasn't been easy or without sacrifice. I decided to fight for my place on this board because my voice is needed. The board is made up of individuals, and I believe these individuals should question everything, speak up, fight for our kids, and be a voice for those who may not have the opportunity to speak. I have no agenda. I'm a mom who wants the best for the children in our community, and as my reputation shows, I'm not afraid to have a different opinion. I'm passionate about my beliefs, but listen with an open heart. I'm consistent and unwavering. As a 30-plus year resident of the district, I feel it's my time to give back to our community by applying my drive and passion to continue BUSD's legacy of educational excellence. My focus is the future. I am a passionate advocate for all the children and their future within our district and beyond. I understand the power of community for our children to help make them safer, stronger, and kinder. If our community is unified and strong, then our children will feel supported, heard, and focused on their education. I'm a community leader who volunteers from my heart, a neighbor who champions inclusion and connection, and a mother who strives for excellence in all that I do. Thank you.
Mr. Glenn Kryman.
Hi, I'm Glenn Kryman. I'm the current president of the Benita Unified School Board, having served on the board for 17 years. My family's lived in the district since 1987, and both my children are proud graduates of Benita Unified. I retired from the Los Angeles Fire Department in 2016 with the rank of Captain 2, having served 35 and a half years, primarily in East LA, South Central, and the downtown Skid Row area. I began my involvement with the district as a volunteer when my son entered kindergarten in 1995, was elected to the board 8 years later, and continued to volunteer until my daughter graduated. Along the way, I served as a classroom volunteer, school site council member and chairperson, PTA president, on various booster groups, and as a grad night chaperone. I was also honored with the Golden Oak Award, which is PTA's highest award for service to children. When I was elected to the board, Benita was a good district in the San Gabriel Valley with trust and transparency issues. Today, we are rated in the top 10% of all unified districts in the state, have great relationships with our bargaining units in the cities we serve, and are very transparent in everything we do. Along the way, I've always based my decisions on one simple premise: is this decision the best decision for all our children? Benita Unified has come a long way, but there's still plenty of room for growth. In my 25 years of involvement with the district, I built relationships with our teachers and staff, our cities and their leaders, local colleges and universities, and our communities and businesses. Those relationships, along with my 17 years' experience as a member of the governing board, will enable me to help guide the district through whatever we face now and in the future, and to continue to ensure we do what's right for all our students.
Dr. Afshin Mayer.
Good evening. Thank you for Laverne and San Dimas Chamber to have us tonight. I've had the great privilege of calling San Dimas and Laverne home for the last 16 years, though. It's where I live, it's where I work, and most important of all, it's where my beautiful wife Nina and I have raised our wonderful children, Emma and Aiden, since the day they were born. As a family, we feel a deep sense of devotion to this amazing community and feel extremely blessed and grateful for everything the community has provided our family throughout the years. My name is Dr. Afshin Mayer, and I'm running for BUSD Governing Board member. I'm a doctor of chiropractor, practicing in Laverne since 2007. My educational and professional background has been a unique journey, which has allowed me to learn and gain experience from different places and settings. I attended high school and then university in the diverse and vibrant city of Toronto in Canada. After graduating, I moved to Dallas, Texas to attend Parker College of Chiropractic. I've been involved in many diverse community organizations and impactful community events, while also serving on several governing boards and organizations within our local community and state level. I'm a former board member and active member of Laverne Chamber of Commerce, executive board member and safety director of AYSO in Region 112, San Dimas and Laverne, former executive board director and treasurer of the California Chiropractic Association, and also the chair committee of Health and Wellness Expo in the city of Laverne throughout the Chamber of Commerce within the years of 2014 and 15. I'm a health advocate for many years, treating students, teachers, and staff. And I believe we have to create a preventive solution to our community by embracing health, empowering kids, and strengthening our schools. Thank you.
Ms. Crystal Jones-Bacon.
Good evening, everybody who's not in here with us, but good evening, constituents and San Dimas and Laverne community members. Thank you to the Laverne San Dimas Chamber of Commerce for inviting us here, as well as the BCA and the district for allowing us to meet here today and do this awesome socially distanced forum. My name is Crystal Jones-Bacon. I'm a full-time working mother and a parent of 2 awesome high schoolers who attend San Dimas High School. My husband is a high school PE teacher at Montclair High School, and he's a head football coach. I have been in this district for 4 years, as I have a senior currently, and we moved into this district specifically to attend San Dimas High School as we came out of a Christian private school. Well, many of our constituents up here, many of my candidates up here, are well known in the community. I'm not necessarily well known. I have always had a heart of service. However, my service has always been behind the scenes in any capacity that is required. I have, for the past 3 years, served on the San Dimas High School bingo boosters and given up at least one Saturday a month just next door at Lone Hill, putting on bingo to help support students within our schools who can't necessarily pay for the extracurriculars that they want to do. We've, utilized funds to help pay for fencing around the school and many different things. I've served as the secretary on the PTSA board for the past 3 years at San Dimas High School, and I bring a variety of school experiences as a parent to this board, as well as a multitude of life experiences which aren't necessarily reflected within everybody in this community, and I believe would be a great asset to our board.
Thank you. You've met the candidates. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Marilyn Sparks. I'm an assurance professional. I also serve as the Los Angeles County Insurance Commission, appointed by Supervisor Barger. I serve the 5th District, and it's my honor to be with you this evening. Thank you. I'm wearing heels, so if you come back to me later, camera, I might be a little bit shorter than when I started. Now I'll go ahead and receive the questions from Terry. Terry Muse is the Committee Workforce Development Chair. I've not been privy to the questions. I will read them in order as presented to me, and again, we'll go through the order in which we do this. We are following the guidelines from the League of Women's Voters. Again, the questions I've received came from the audience. They were collected prior to the forum via email, and they were reviewed by the question sorters. Questions on the same topic may be consolidated to one question. Question must be relevant to the position being sought. Questions will be asked in rotation. Questions worded as personal on candidates will be and have already been rejected. Questions directed to all, the response is 1 minute, 30 seconds each. The timer will start when the speaker begins or 10 seconds after the question has been asked. The first speaker for each question will have 30 seconds to begin. The timer will notify you when your time begins, when 30 seconds remain, when 10 seconds remain, and then we ask you that you stop when you see the stop sign. Question 1, speaking order. We will start with candidate number 7, that's Dr. Mayer. Can you please describe a previous relevant governance position you played and the values that drove your decisions?
Sure. As I said, I have served as a board executive and the treasurer of the state for California Chiropractic Association in the past. I've been also involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I served on the board of Chamber of Commerce in the past. And what really pretty much my desires to run for this is that I'm from the people, I'm for the people, and I'm here to represent our community. I'm here to be the bridge between the board and also people in the community. And also I have 2 children that they pretty much go through school in here, and they're pretty much at the earliest stages, 2nd and 6th grade. So I got a long way to go in here, and I'm here to pretty much represent the parents still. And also, as far as the credential, I pretty much have, my records have proven as far as what qualifications I have and the results still. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jones-Bacon, same question.
So I would like to use an example as the PTSA secretary at San Dimas High School. The values which direct and dictate my decisions are always pretty basic for me. In my profession, I work in insurance, and I am quite often looking at policies when it comes to making decisions, and I can often, as my husband likes to get mad at me, be a black and white person. And so when it comes to making decisions that impact people and lives and the education of students, I always tend to look at integrity, honesty, and equal representation for everybody. So at the end of the day, the decision that I make, how is it going to affect everybody? Is this from an honest position, using integrity, and always representing the best interest of all parties? And sometimes the best interest of all parties is the students and not the parents, and sometimes the best interest of the parties is the parents and not the students. And those are hard decisions to make. However, it's always the best interest of the most parties that you can affect.
Thank you. Ms. Allison?
Thank you. Well, as a teacher, I advise the academic clubs on campus. After that, I co-found my local nonprofit where I served on the board of directors in setting vision, priorities, program development, and organized a number of community events through that function. As far as what my decision is made on, it's about what impacts the community we're serving and how it does that, modeling the greater vision we seek to serve. So for instance, when I'm advising an academic club on campus, I want to put forth programs that are going to benefit the students. And I mean, we started a local preschool reading club where they then went and volunteered at the local preschool, also serving that community in a way that models my greater vision of engagement and being involved. That same decision-making process, that same thread followed through with my nonprofit of us ensuring that we're giving back to the community in every way we can, in a creative way where we're networking with other community partners and organizations. And as I stated in my opening statement, ensuring that we're bringing people together while we do that. I think being on a board, helping lead a district, you lead that visioning and priority setting, and you model the way that we hope our students will engage with one another, engage with their community, and always seek to do good.
Mr. Pilato.
Thank you. So the values that direct me to make my decisions are really just data. I don't want to base things off just my personal thoughts and ideologies all the time. And I'm a humble enough guy where I might believe something, but if there's new data or information coming in, I'll be able to change my mind, which seems to be a little bit more rare these days. But really, data is what makes me make my decisions. I'm a school psychologist, and every day giving assessments and figuring out the different pieces of what makes a kid work, what makes school hard for him. And I don't just base it on me, the teacher, saying he's struggling. I really use these IQ scores, processing tests, these actual hard numbers to decide if he really does have a disability, not just my initial thoughts, but I want to make sure that it's really science and data that makes me drive my decisions. Thank you.
Mr. Otto.
Thank you. So as far as situations where I've been in a manager type position or government type position, I am, like I mentioned earlier, the chairman of the school site council at Oak Mesa. I'm also on the PTA school board, and then I also run my own business. And I think the best way I can describe how I make decisions and the process I use is I try to look at the people first. When COVID arrived, my company took a hit. It was devastating. Within 2 weeks, we had gone from a pretty busy company to literally nothing. And at that time, I had a choice of laying my people off and basically telling these people that, hey, your families aren't going to have money coming in, or I could take a different route. And so what I chose to do is I actually got a bunch of unfriendly loans for my company, but I made sure that my people kept working. A month later, lo and behold, we were busier than we've ever been, and I was able to pay off those loans, and my people, who are my family, never had to go without. I take that same mentality when I'm looking to be on the school board. I'm going to look at what's going to benefit our kids and our teachers in this district, and I'm going to make those hard calls. They may not always be popular, and they may not be pretty, but I am not afraid to make those calls, to push the line, to make sure that we take care of our people, even if it does, hurt a little bit in the beginning. Thank you.
Mr. Mattson.
Thank you. I'm going to connect this question to my work at USC, where I've worked since 2003, primarily in academic support as well as disability services, and then more recently for the School of Education. In a previous role, I was both on the Student Affairs, Student Concerns Committee, as well as a member, myself and 2 others, where we reached out to every student, undergraduate, who went on probation, so first year, freshmen, and transfer students, who went on probation after their first semester or first year. Along the way, we connected with students all over the world and their family, and particularly students who achieved a GPA below 1.5. We worked with legal and had a letter sent to their family. And the conversations that we had with alarmed family members calling us from who knows where and at various different times were heartbreaking, because these sometimes were families who did not know how their student was doing. That isolation and loneliness and inability to share their struggles was hard. So throughout all of it, it was a matter of taking a holistic approach, figuring out who are the people involved, and then doing my best to provide academic, social, and emotional support to everyone, and particularly the student.
Ms. Chakmak.
Thank you. I have served on several committees. I'm an active member in this community. I've been on the PTA at Roynan and for the last 2 years held 2 board positions. I held 2 board positions for my son's preschool. I was on the Bond Oversight Committee for BUSD, the Parent Advisory Committee for BUSD, and when making decisions in regards to being in board positions, I would always say that the people are first. How is it going to impact the people that we're making the decisions for? I also think that being financially conservative is very important when making decisions, being fair, and making sure that we're including everyone in the decisions that we're making. I always want to be honest, even when it's not the most fun place to be, and transparent, because I always want people to know exactly where I stand on a decision. Thank you.
Mr. Kryman.
In my 35 and a half years on the LAFD, I had to make a lot of decisions. That equated to about 50,000 times we went out the door where somebody had called us and needed help. And our whole job was, how can we make the situation better? My 17 years on the board have also involved a lot of decisions. Some have been popular with the community, some haven't. But I've based all the decisions I've made on the board on the simple premise, is that decision the best decision for all our children? And if you keep that in mind when you run for the board, when you get on the board, and when you're electing people for the board, you can't go wrong.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 2. Aside from reopening the schools, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing the district, and how do you plan to handle them? We're going to start with Brittany Allison.
I would say first would be mental health for our students. The board recently invested a ton in increasing professional counselors on campuses, and I think that's great. My aim is to ensure that we're offering proactive activities and instruction in the areas of stress and anxiety management, as well as mindfulness. The data and statistics around the way young people are struggling now is astounding, whether it's because of stresses in the community, whether it's because of social media and the impacts of all of that, whether it's because of polarization and division that they see nationally. There is issues that we need to be proactively engaging with our students on. And that's one thing that I would be dedicated to doing so, as well as making sure that we're maintaining fiscal responsibility. There's uncertainty, and rather than budget concerns, I would say that the second challenge is uncertainty. We're in an uncertain time in education, not knowing how the budgets are going to play out in the years to come, not knowing what federal stimulus packages are or are not coming for education. And knowing that we constantly need to plan ahead. That's why I would seek to maintain that fiscal responsibility, but ensuring that we're being creative in making sure that student services aren't lacking and learning outcomes aren't harmed in the name of fiscal responsibility.
Mr. Pilato.
Thank you. I agree with Brittany about mental health, but more importantly, the biggest challenge I see facing the district today is going to be our budget. We were already threatened with 10% cut last year, and luckily that didn't happen. But looking, from the last board meetings, within 3 years we're going to be cutting our reserves heavily, and we'll be 4 to 15 million looking to cut. So my priority is really to prioritize what's really important for us. And while I would love to increase more of our mental health, our trades and education program, if we see revenue, that's where I would love it to go. I want to make sure that all of our staff are still employed and we keep our class sizes respectable. So right now, it's not going to be a time for pet projects. It's not going to be a time to look at new curriculums. It's really going to be a time that, if the current budget continues the way it is really buckle down and make sure we keep our staff, keep our teachers, and keep our kids in a class size that they're free to learn in. Thank you.
Mr. Otto.
Yeah, so I think we can all agree that we all want schools to open back up, and when they finally do it, and they will, there's going to be a laundry list of things that we have to address. Mental health, like they had said, is going to be huge. Teaching our kids how to be students in the classroom again, that's not going to come naturally with everyone. That's going to be a huge thing. And also our teachers as well. How do we transfer them over to being in the classroom again and make it seamless? I think those are a few important things, but the utmost importance to me is safety. This pandemic will end. It's going to happen. But what happens in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years when there's the next pandemic or there's the next issue? We need to today, before schools even open back up, start planning on how we're going to get ahead of the next major issue. When there's a pandemic, God forbid, 50 years from now, we should have the policies in place so we're not caught unaware as we were this time. We need to be able to weather through the next pandemic. Sure, it'll involve some changes, but we need to put the policies in place today so the next pandemic, we can breeze through it safely, keeping our teachers and our kids safe, and still keep business as usual. I think that should be a top priority starting today. Thank you.
Mr. Mattson.
We're facing multiple challenges: the economy, the loneliness crisis. The California Voting Rights Act likely will lead to 5 by-trustee areas in our district. We need to prepare students for their future rather than our present. Awareness of our habits is needed, and healthy learning requires minimally biased, fact-based information and news. Hint: read more, watch less. For the economy, we need to understand each person's situation is different and budgets will be tight. For the loneliness crisis, we should make social-emotional learning broader and deeper if we want to engage our students in meaningful ways. Our purpose is to teach them how to learn, how to become better people, and to prepare them for life outside of school. Social-emotional learning does that. To prepare students for their future, we need to better emphasize critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, and consideration. These are the skills they need. Lastly, we are also creatures of habit, and our greatest ability and inability is change. Our behavior benefits from meaningful purpose. The sooner our kids learn these things, the better.
Ms. Chakmak.
I believe that after opening the schools, our biggest challenge is going to be finding balance. Finding balance between being financially strong and keeping our people, our teachers, our children, our parents happy, making sure that everyone is feeling supported, that they're feeling heard, and that we're preparing our children to be successful, active community members. Finding that balance is going to be very difficult when we get back into school and everyone's focused on catching up and some of the fear that we have to overcome. And I really think that we need to be leaders and find balance in our families, in our community, and in our school district.
Mr. Kryman.
Well, I think our biggest challenge is going to be weathering the forthcoming revenue reductions that are predicted due to the pandemic and the effects that they're going to have on our economy. We need to at least maintain all our current programs and staff, if not expand offerings. Among those, we need to maintain the mental health programs we've already put in place, and we need to add more. We also need to add and expand our CTE programs. And also, and maybe the most important, is we need to continue providing the best, most equitable education possible for all our students, regardless of the delivery method we're going to be using.
Dr. Mayer.
With the challenges that we are facing right now, I think the most important thing when we go back is the safety of our students, teachers, and also providing like a safe environment though. And children right now, students right now going through really mental challenges right now, and as well as the teachers though. So I think we should provide teachers who have, with the tools that they need to lead this way, and pretty much the other thing is the budget though, how things are going to change with the new norm though. Are we financially stable? How much can we invest in the changes though? And are we, beside the mental health that is going to be challenged through even reopening, I think we need to provide more resources of wellness and also services that we can provide for the schools to balance as far as where we are and where we're going to be though.
Ms. Jones-Bacon.
With this question, I think about our district's focus, which is equity, mastery, and a focus on results. And when we look at our current times and you think about our students, we have to stop and think about how are we maintaining our district's values and our core values as a district to ensure that regardless of what we are doing in this time, we are still focusing on what we as a district value. And I think that with the equity, not after COVID or after we open up, we need to be looking now, because we need to be looking at the equity of our children and how they're learning. It's frightening to see some of the numbers that are not just in our district, but are in neighboring districts, of students who were, 3.5, 3.6 GPA students who are now floundering, who are now 1.2, 1.3. We need to start looking at what can we do currently to ensure that we have not just lost a year of education and years of lifelong learning for our students. And with that, we need to ensure that when it comes to mental health, we are investing in our students and meeting each and every one of our students and our staff where they are so that we can help them and walk beside them to get them to where they need to be to continue our district being the best.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 3, what is the extent of your involvement with the schools and the district? And this question will start with Mr. Mattson.
As I mentioned earlier, I have a 5th grader and a freshman at Gladstone and San Dimas. I'm pretty much involved in everything they do, but at the same time, I am happy that they are as independent as possible. But I like to read all of the information. I know right now a lot of parents are having trouble going online and logging into Canvas as the parent through their student and viewing things. And I know a lot of students are having trouble staying focused and finding just a way to stay involved in their class. And that really just pushes down some of the more important things that we want our kids to have. Those meaningful connections, the interactions. The kids miss going on campus and playing with each other. They miss seeing those smiles that bring magic to being at school. Those interactions with the staff or the teacher or whoever it is throughout their day that make things more worthwhile for them. So with my involvement, as I am here today, I would like to push for more meaningful interactions, even during online education, whether it's opportunities for people to talk online on Zoom. Even if it's meaningful, it's still important.
Ms. Chakmak?
Can you please repeat that question for me again?
What is the extent of your involvement with the schools and the district?
Aside from the previous boards that I mentioned, I also have 2 children in Bonita Unified School District. They attend Roynan. I have a 1st grader and a 2nd grader. Up until March 13th, I was an active volunteer in my boys' classrooms and on the PTA. Aside from my time at the schools, I also was very active with the City of Laverne's Youth and Family Action Committee, which I think ties into our district. And I did some volunteer work at David and Margaret, which is also a very important part of our district. And I attended most of the Laverne City Council meetings. I like to stay up to date on what's going on in our community because I think that our community is a direct partner with our district. So I try to keep involved in everything in our community.
Mr. Kryman?
Well, I started by attending a board meeting and basically yelling at them about a class size reduction plan they were passing that didn't include all the schools. I started volunteering when my son started kindergarten. I've been involved for 25 years with the district, 15 as a volunteer through my 2 kids' tenure through school. Everything from grad night parties to running the snack bar for the PTA and the football team, 5th and 8th grade parties, PTA president, and then 17 years as a board member. So the last 25 years I've been constantly involved in the district in a variety of ways.
Dr. Mayer?
So I've been a PTA member and also a volunteer parent. One thing that I did with every class of my children every year, almost I go in there and do some educational health lectures for them, depending to their age. And also, I get high school students from Bonita that they come to my office. I've had several of them that they come shadow and do pretty much internships to see if chiropractic is for them, though. So I've been helping several of the students through Bonita High School, finding their way out as far as their career. Also, through the Chamber of Commerce, I've been involved with Teacher of the Year Award in many years in the past. And also, many years I've been treating a lot of students, teachers, athletes from our district. And thank you.
Ms. Jones-Bacon?
So as I mentioned, I'm a parent currently of a 2021 senior and a 2024 freshman who are both at San Dimas High School. I'm on my 2nd year as the secretary of the PTSA at San Dimas High School. My 4th year as the secretary of the bingo committee, and I'm currently the secretary of the grad night committee for 2021. Most importantly, for me as a wife of a coach, I understand the importance of extracurriculars, of sports, and of performing arts, and I understand the amount of commitment and time and money that goes into having these things happen that comes from coaches. And so with that, I have made myself readily available to my daughter's teams. I've driven kids home from practices, kids home from games, and I've worked snack bars, I've worked fundraisers, and I, one night, even made homecoming t-shirts for one of our teammates who was a homecoming princess. And I think that the involvement goes beyond more than what title you get from it. It goes to where you are assisting and helping people when there's a need. So regardless of where the need is where you'll find me.
Ms. Allison?
My interaction and involvement with Bonita Unified first began in the relationship between the Bonita debate team and the University of La Verne debate team. And they would send kids to summer camps and things like that, and I was involved on the University of La Verne debate team. Then a couple of Bonita students interned with my nonprofit, one of which actually continued to intern after he graduated. The internship started as a part of a project that they get assigned, which I think is an incredible way of getting our students experiential learning in the community. So I was happy to be able to take part in that. Out of that, we partnered with the Bonita debate team to put on a community program, a community debate for individuals. I think that one was on gun rights and was held in Pomona. And then I started to research into Bonita Unified to determine if it was where I should send my daughter, as she will start school next year. When I shared this with some of my neighbors, they were kind of shocked because Bonita Unified is an incredible school district. My email to the board was asking what was proactively being done to create a culture of inclusivity, because I do have a beautiful biracial baby, and I wanted to make sure that she had a culture that included and supported her. It was some of these responses and some of the lack of responses that encouraged me and inspired me to be up on this stage today.
Mr. Pilato?
Thank you. Let me start locally. I'm very involved in my own kids' education. I have kids at Grace Miller and Ramona, and I'm doing distance learning with them, so I'm learning both sides of the classroom. Locally, I'm more of a behind-the-scenes guy. At Grace Miller, we put on the best Harvest Fest every fall, and I'll take the day off to go set up the stands, set up the games, cook some of the hot dogs. I love being behind the scenes. At the district level, for myself, I'm a school psychologist, and I have been for the last 20 years, so I do understand what happens in the classrooms every day, especially with our kids with those exceptional needs. At the state level with education, I work with the California Department of Ed. We've made a social emotional learning task force, and hopefully by next summer we're going to have a whole new framework with strategies and stuff for the classroom. I'm very involved with the community, and my community involvement has direct impacts with the district. I belong to the St. Demas Masonic Lodge, and we co-sponsored the spelling bee for Bonita. That happens right here. I'm part of the Laverne Rotary, and we have teacher mini grants to help get the teachers what they need to make their classrooms as best as they can be. And recently I've been working with the Laverne San Dimas Educational Foundation. We're trying to raise money for that mental health support, which I'm very passionate about. We have a 5K coming up. I hope everyone here signs up. It's going to be in November. This money goes directly to our wellness initiative and for our mental health. So I am all in for involvement with this district. Thank you.
Mr. Otto.
So I think when we all became parents, for those of you who are parents, our hobbies, our priorities, they all go from about us to our kids, right? Which for me was the best part. My daughter was born 2 months early, and she was premature, and I was sitting in a NICU with her, and she's, about a little over 3 pounds, and I was already in my mind thinking how excited I was to be involved in her school. I know I had a few years to go and some hospital visits to get past, but that was something I started looking forward to day one. When she started school at Oak Mesa in kindergarten last year, the first thing I did is I started asking questions. How can I be more involved? How can I be part of her school? How can I be on campus to be a voice in her school? So at first I joined the PTA and then the PTA board, and then I joined the school site council, and I was elected to be the chairman of the school site council last year and this year. And the funniest thing happened. After I was elected to be the chairman of the school site council, I went home and I told Zoe what happened. This is a little kindergartner at the time. And I said, I'm going to start helping out at your school more often. The next day, she goes up to Mr. Patterson, the principal, and says, Mr. Patterson, my daddy's going to help you run your school better. It was hilarious and embarrassing, but it was absolutely awesome. And I'm looking forward to having more embarrassing, awesome moments like that as she proceeds through the different schools and the high school. I love being involved in this district. And, win or lose this board seat, I am going to continue to be as involved as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 4. How do you see our district responding to the Black Lives Matter movement, and what is your vision for the future? We will start with, I'm sorry, I want to make sure that I stay in order. Start with Mr. Otto.
I'm sorry. So the question was, how is our district responding to the Black Lives movement, and what is my vision for it?
How do you see our district responding to the Black Lives Matter movement, and what is your vision for the future?
I think at the end of the day, it's our opportunity, it's our responsibility as a district to make sure our kids know what's going on out in society. So we should be teaching them all different sides of every topic. So when it comes to Black Lives Matters and the movement itself, they're going to be seeing it on the news, they're going to be seeing it out in public. We should explain, what each side is speaking for. So, the people who are part of the movement, what are their goals, what are they speaking out for? And the people who are against that, what are their goals and what are their motives? And we should be giving our children every opportunity to learn both sides. As far as my vision when it comes to Black Lives Matters or anything like that, we need to support everybody equally. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, it doesn't matter, where you came from. Everyone deserves to be treated like human beings. And I think as a district, we have to follow the mandates that are given to us by the state and by county. At the same time, we can still foster and have those conversations in order to make sure our kids know what's going on. There's so much misinformation out there, and it starts with the parent. It's the parent's responsibility to explain this to our kids, but we should, as a district, talk to the parents and say, hey, what conversations are you guys having? What questions are your kids answering? And as a district, we should partner with our parents to come up with not necessarily curriculum, but at least an understanding of what our kids are seeing out there. We watch the news, we see what's going on, but do they understand it from a 16-year-old perspective compared to a 35-year-old's perspective. So we need to find ways to support them better, whether it's this topic or any other topic that's going on right now.
Mr. Mattson? Sorry.
Black lives matter, and when Black lives matter, equity matters. We need to understand when equality is absent, equity is vital. The issue is fairness and treating people with consideration and respect because unequal needs exist. And equity is about more than race, ethnicity, ability, sex, religion, and sexual orientation. Equity also means taking on American income and wealth inequality. So when you want to talk about systemic inequity, think about how the top 1%, 10%, even the top 20% become wealthier, no matter who the leader is in charge. Meanwhile, everyone else is conveniently pushed toward Republican or Democrat by race, ethnicity, religion, zip code, and extremism. Divided, we lack power. And every time there's a recession, natural disaster, pandemic, the poorest suffer the most. Blaming others that look or believe differently is self-defeating. Only when we treat each other fairly and with consideration and respect can we work together and achieve the equity we deserve.
Ms. Chakmak?
Black Lives Matter, the movement, has highlighted challenges in this country, and I'm definitely not naive to the effects this will have on our district. I am honored to currently be on the board and was able to support the addition of a committee that's been comprised of students, teachers, and parents to address some of the challenges that are ahead of us. I am truly excited to see how this group will have an impact on our district and our community. All 10,000 of our children matter, and I want to make sure that they are all supported equally, and that's the main concern, is making sure that all 10,000 kids are supported and feel like they're part of this school equally.
Mr. Kryman?
You know, when you enter the Museum of Tolerance, there are two doors. One's marked prejudice, one's unprejudiced. The unprejudiced door is permanently closed. When we realize that everyone has some level of prejudice is when we can start to understand how it can affect our decision making and learn to overcome it. For over 35 years, I worked at a job. When the alarm sounded, we went out the door to help those in need, regardless of their race, gender, orientation, legal status, or anything else. That's how I was raised and trained. We help those who need it, regardless of who they are. Even so, I know that no one is without bias, and I'm actively working to identify and overcome my own. It's a mindset I've carried with me outside the firehouse and continue to practice in my daily life and as a board member. Learning to recognize our conscious and unconscious biases and how to overcome them will only benefit our district, our students, and our communities.
Dr. Mayer?
This is an interesting question because coming from an immigrant background, I lived different countries, been through different settings of schools, and I believe everybody deserves a fair chance. And as I said, since I've moved here 16 years ago, this district has been great to me as far as business and living, and also my kids. And I believe everybody deserves equality and equity, and having an equity committee in our district will help moving forward, but I think our district is doing a good job, and we can always do better down the road, and I'm blessed to be here today. So, thank you.
Ms. Jones-Bacon?
I love this question. I've gotten it quite often. While I was sitting here taking my notes of how I wanted to respond to this, it kind of hit me that I don't necessarily believe that our district has actually responded to the BLM movement, nor do I expect them to. but I do see them responding to a need that arose in our district. And although there was a response to the need, I think that as a board, there is a bit of failure in the fact that a lot of the needs that arose had been voiced for many years within this district, and unfortunately they became public and then there was a response. And that's hard. As a parent of a child who sits on that board this year, it's amazing. As I sat, as she was in a call today, actually, as I prepared to come here, it's in that failure of not knowing in advance, but when that problem arose and it became public, the district opting to do something is the true beauty, and the fact that Bonita is open and willing to address the needs of everybody within their district to ensure that there is fair and equitable treatment and educating throughout our district, and that's what I hope to continue.
Miss Allison?
I would say first, we don't fall into the pits of polarization or partisanship. Black Lives Matter is one of those things that has gotten politicized. And I would ask anyone who sees it as being especially controversial, does my husband's life matter? Does my children's life matter? That's really what the question is. And if you bring it down to people and not headlines, the answer is always unequivocally yes, of course they matter. So I think the important part of the question is, what's your vision for the future? My vision is that we will live in a society where it's so clear that every life matters, that when my daughter is on this stage, she's not asked this question. My vision is that we have inclusivity. We have every student walking on their campus feeling safe and welcomed and able to thrive. I mentioned that I reached out to the board previously asking about what culture they were cultivating. That is because I spoke to former BUSD students that gave me terrible stories of what they experienced on campuses. And it was with a shaky voice and tears in my eyes that I wrote an email hoping that my child didn't go through these same circumstances. So how do we get there? We get there by pursuing equity. It's one of our district's values. By creating a culture that models that, by recognizing that, as many said, bias and racism exist in every aspect of society and us, and we do not fall into division. It's about the people.
Mr. Pilato?
I've always come to the thing that I want to make sure that everyone feels safe in our schools. Everyone on the left, on the right, no matter what color you are. Equity does matter. We heard that said here. I get this question a lot as well because I am an educator and they equate me as an educator with the whole LAUSD movement. I also see there's a difference between what you said with the question with the Black Lives Movement and with the premise, and it's true, all Black lives matter, everyone's life matters, but the movement is what people attack me on as an educator because they think I'm automatically for defunding police, for this and that, which is just more of an assumption because I am full. I understand what being defunded means as an educator, and I wouldn't want that on anybody. I support all of them. Our vision for the future and what I've seen happen, and I've talked to people on the equity team, and I'm excited about what the equity team can bring. I know I look white, but I am mixed race. I'm from New York. I'm very Colombian, but Colombians are from light skin to dark skin. I understand what inclusion looks like growing up in New York, and I want that to be here as well. Everyone needs to feel safe in our schools, no matter who you are.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 5, what are your plans to meet the staff and students of Bonita Unified School District to see for yourself what really happens in the day-to-day operations? How do you plan on including the input and concerns of staff and students when making the decisions that actually affect them? We'll go back to Dr. Mayer.
Well, I'm already meeting parents, the teachers and the staff in this community by serving them through my treatments and office. So, and also, I think listening to what they have to say is really important, and what their needs are. Are we providing the proper tools for them? And I'm planning to be on site, go to the schools. I attend most of community events in here for the last many years still, especially school. I sponsor many of them, and I believe working hands to hands with from the community to the teachers, and also being assigned as a board member is very critical to find their needs and what we can do to help them out to, as I said, strengthen the schools still for future.
Ms. Jones-Bacon?
So when it comes to meeting the staff and the students, I intend, as if elected as a board member, to maintain and increase the amount of my presence, not just at San Dimas High School, but at Bonita High School and at the elementary schools and the middle schools. And with that, I have the ability, I've been a remote work from home employee long before COVID, so I am very used to it, and I enjoy going out and meeting people. When it comes to working with the unions, I want to work with them to ensure that we're always working as a team for the same goals for our teachers, so that we're not butting heads, we're not fighting. And I want to listen. I want to listen more than I speak. I actually hate getting up here and speaking because I am more of a listener and an observer, and that's what I want to do. I want to listen to the staff, I want to listen to the administrators, and honestly, I want to listen to our students. I have 2 high schoolers who talk, and they talk my ear off, and a lot of times parents and teachers and administrators and coaches have no idea that I know, you know, the joke that was made or the comment that was made, because my kids come home and talk, and I listen, and I make it an active part of my day to listen, and to listen to their friends when they're in my car and have the conversations, and that's what I intend to do.
Miss Allison?
Thank you. As a former teacher who misses the classroom desperately, I would love the opportunity to come in and visit sites and sit in on classrooms, or right now Zoom rooms. Attending events. Me and my kids will be the loudest cheering section at programs and sporting events for sure. And I think those 2 things are important because they help build relationship and build trust, but it's also vital that we proactively and intentionally seek constructive feedback. I do not think it is enough to sit here and say, I will be an open ear if anyone has something they'd want to say. I think that we have to proactively go out and seek that feedback, whether it's by having roundtables, by sending out forums, or having forums, sending out surveys, feedback forms, making it very, very clear that it's not just that I am open for your feedback, but I want to hear that feedback. And like I said, you need to have that trust and relationship foundation built first, so that they would feel willing and able to do so. Throughout this campaign, one of my favorite things has been meeting more teachers. I did already have some friends that teach in Bonita Unified, but I loved being put into contact with other teachers to gain their perspective and their input, and I would just revel in the opportunity to be able to do that more. Thanks.
Mr. Pilato?
Thanks. There's really no substitute for being in the classroom. If you're going to buy a house, you want to walk in it. If you want to know how a car is, you have to drive it. If you want to know how our schools are, you have to be in there. I'm also very accessible. Everyone has a means to contact me, and it seems like half this community has contacted me in some form, asking me a question, and I always respond. I'll never ghost anyone. I also know as a parent, and I had big concerns with my own kid in the school, that I want to be heard. So I understand parents out there. I will listen to you, and I will take your concerns seriously. I also know as a school employee that there is so much that looks great from the outside point of view, but really behind the scenes, there's a lot that needs to be worked on. As a school employee, I've had board members walk on my campus, but they're always with the superintendent, and that's almost too intimidating to actually get out to say something. So I would encourage people to come and seek me out themselves, or just to reach out, and I'll get back within 15 minutes, like I typically do. I'm super easy to contact, and I plan to be very accessible for parents, teachers, school staff, and our students. Thank you.
Mr. Otto?
Yeah. So as a future board member, one thing that I realize, and I think that is imperative, is that as a board member, I work for you. I work for the teachers, I work for this community, I work for the kids. And it's important to understand that. Just like in my own company, you know, when we're developing new procedures, or we're you know, things are going good or bad, I always talk to my people and say, hey, how can we do better? Even when things are going well, how can we improve on the success that we've had? When we fail, we failed, how can we fix it for next time? So listening to the teachers, listening to the school age care staff, the classifieds, all the employees in the schools, that is crucial to the success of this district, and I am available for that. Since I do own my own company, I have a lot of freedom as far as when I can and can't go places. So I plan to be at every event possible. A couple weeks ago, Glenn, Greg, and I had a coffee with candidates, and we had an employee come by, and she was telling me that when some board members come to the schools, it's very official, and you know, they all know what's happening, everybody's on their best behavior, but there's other board members who have made a sincere effort to be approachable, and when they come on campus, everybody feels comfortable. I plan to be that board member that makes the teachers, the staff, the classified, everyone on campus feel comfortable that they can come up to me with any question or concern, good or bad. And I may not always have the answer, but I will get back to you, and I will make sure I find that answer for you. Whether it's on campus or shooting me a message on Facebook or just giving me a call, I will be available. Thank you.
Mr. Mattson?
Thank you. It's good to think about the board as the conscience of the district. And it's also important to understand that there's the stuff that happens in our schools, and then there's the families who often don't have a whole lot of chance or opportunity to get involved. That's kind of the side that I've been on for the longest time, where my wife works out of town and my kids have been in school-age care pretty much since they've been born of some type. And so I'm used to dropping off my kids as early as 6:30 when school-age care opens, and then scrambling back to get them as late as 5:30, sometimes pressing on that 6 o'clock deadline. And I know plenty of the other families in school-age care that, you know, getting to school and getting involved is easier said than done. I also want to point out, I'm a big believer in the 4 C's. Critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, and these skills, as well as the 5th one that I'd like, is consideration. These are the skills our students are going to need, but these are the skills that we as an adult need to practice so they can learn them from us. I'm fair, I'm open, I'm transparent, I have a background in the arts, I have an MFA in theater, I love to get involved in the arts. And then lastly, I believe in operating in a way where people feel informed, supported, and valued. Every interaction, I want to have someone else know what I'm thinking.
Ms. Chakmak?
When you refer to the C's, my mind automatically goes to diamonds. So thank you. My passion truly is people. And one thing that I've noticed about myself during this time of pandemic is that I crave being around people, I crave this community, and I have missed it. I take every opportunity I can to be around people in my neighborhood and people in the schools, and I'm excited to get back to that someday. And I live day to day with what's going on in our schools because I have, my 2 young kids. So I love being on the campus, and I love being a part of their education and their extra activities. And I'm constantly trying to engage and create opportunities to connect with everyone in our community. Parents, teachers, classified, anything I can to be around people. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to have access to our community in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Kryman.
Well, I'm retired, so I have a lot of free time. And as Joe mentioned earlier, there's some more formal board members than other. I like to think I'm one of the less formal and more available. There's probably a lot of staff in this district that doesn't know my last name, but they know my first name, which is the way it should be. This last year, I was the only board member that attended both the middle school promotions on a drive-through and the drive-through at San Dimas and the virtual graduation at Bonita. I try to attend as many open houses as possible. I gave search and rescue training to one of our elementary schools when they were doing a disaster plan. And I've always been out and about and available. We had a function where a board member was assigned to shadow one of our CSEA members. And I went with the guy who was doing pest control, and we were doing bees and skunks. And no, I did not put the suit on, although he tried. And just a word of advice to all of you running here when you make it, nowhere is off bounds. Costco, the supermarket, doesn't matter where you are, our staff and our parents are not afraid if they recognize you to come up and talk to you. So I applaud them for that, but just be ready that they will hunt you down wherever they see you.
Thank you, candidates. Our sixth and final question, what do you see are the most important roles you will play as you sit on the school board? And we'll go back to Miss Allison.
Thanks. As a board member, it's not my role to take on the position of staff. It's not my role to get in the nitty-gritty of how to run the classroom or how to work in the space that you're working in. It's my role to provide the vision, to provide the priorities, to be advisorial, and certainly to be a liaison with members of the community. That's one of the reasons why I feel my experience working in navigating that dialogue is unique to those on stage, is I will thrive in that circumstance. And that's the role that I think is of utmost importance. The community, the parents, the family, are the most important educators, impactors in their kids' lives. And it is my hope that I would be able to facilitate that conversation and that communication. It is because I saw a parent as being the first and most important educator and impactor in their kids' lives that I chose to stay home with my kids. I get parents wanting to be there, and I'm in there with you. And then also certainly to keep that big picture eye on the budget, on the equity, the mastery, the focus on results, staying data driven, and just encapsulating that big picture.
Mr. Pilato?
Yes, so I see my role as being a liaison, just like Brittany said, with the community. Here's our school district and our administrators, and they administrate, we don't. We just more set the policy. So we're right there, but the community is way up at the top. The community gives us the information that we need, and we set that community agenda into our schools. Every district is so unique. We're in LA County, but we're not LAUSD. Every district has their own agenda. We need to represent what's happening here in Bonita with San Dimas and Laverne's values. So that's what I see as my role. A school board member also has a lot of other responsibilities. We set the policy, we set the vision and goals, we evaluate our superintendent, we oversee and adopt the budget, we manage the collective bargaining processes of the association. So there's a lot that we need to know. We have to know school finance. But the most important thing is, because we're being elected by this community, is to represent their views and their values, to make sure that they fit within our law and we do right by our kids.
Mr. Otto?
As a future board member, like I mentioned earlier, I work for you. I work for the community, I work for the teachers, the classifieds, the kids, everybody who's watching this right now. I am your employee, I am your servant. And as a board member, one of the biggest and most important goals that I would have would be to be a bridge between the district and its community, a bridge between the teachers in the district, between the classified in the district, a bridge between our kids in the district, and a bridge between our parents in the district. It's my job to listen to what's going on and to hear your feedback. As a parent, if you don't like something that's going on in the schools, maybe it might seem like a small thing to you, not to me. I want to know about it, and if there's a way that I can fix it, I will, and maybe I can't fix it, maybe I can just give you some feedback and help you understand it better. As a teacher, if there's something that you don't like, something that's conflicting with what you think is right, I want to know about it. And again, I will do all I can to support you. Classified employees, my daughter's in the school age care program, and I love you guys. You guys make life so much easier. I cannot imagine what I would do without you. I work for you too. So as a board member, my primary focus is going to be working as a bridge between the district and all of you.
Mr. Mattson?
As I mentioned earlier, the board serves as the conscience for the district, and I've mentioned some of the other things I'd be advocating for. One thing I haven't mentioned is, because I'm an educator, I have a doctoral degree in educational psychology, alignment between mission and behavior is very important to me. But I want to devote more of my time to mental health. In the movie The World's Greatest Dad, Robin Williams' character says, "I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people who make you feel all alone." And that's what our vices and devices have done to us, unfulfillment. Humanity has reached a point where individually and collectively we've become our own worst enemy. When our real life lacks meaning, we try to make up for it elsewhere. Social media, online gaming, or things that are worse. And what we actually need is meaningful communication. Look at the recent Jumanji movies. Kids love those, and it's no surprise because we want that meaningful interaction, no matter how we provide them. Additional mental health counselors help cover our back end, but if that's all the district does, it's a failure and sends the message that students are the problem. They aren't. It's us, and our culture is failing to find better ways to engage and educate our students.
Ms. Chakmak?
My role on the board is to help create a culture and direction for the district, to provide support for all 10,000 kids and their families and all 1,100 employees, to be a team player and to be accountable and provide community leadership.
Mr. Kryman?
Well, the role of the board ostensibly is to set the goals and objectives and every policies for the district, hire the best and let them run and not micromanage. But the way to be an effective board member is you need to listen to your community, listen to the staff, listen to your students, make them feel that you're actually hearing what they say and you're going to make a difference, and advocate for all our children and ensure that they all have equity and equality in everything they do. As a board member, you're not elected to represent a city, a school, or any special interest group. You're elected to represent your two communities and the entire Bonita Unified School District.
Dr. Mayer?
As your elected governor board, I would like to provide leadership and citizen oversight of the district. As well, ensure that the district is responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of the community. Also, providing support to the superintendent and the staff as they are carrying out the board's direction. Board decisions regarding curriculum, policies, budget, collective bargaining, and agreements. And the most important thing as the governing board, to recognize that the students and staff have the right to a safe and a secure campus and fully committed to maximum school safety and creating a positive learning environment.
Ms. Jones-Bacon?
So, the most important role as a board member is changing. At this point in where we currently are and the direction of not just our board, but education in general, I feel that it's most important to always honor and value both of the communities of Laverne and San Dimas, and to continue to capitalize on our strengths, our culture, and the backbone of this district, which is its community, its employees, its students, and its families. And while we utilize our strengths and our backbone, we need to start looking at the future and where it's going to go. We're not able to continue as a board utilizing a status quo handbook. At this point, we need innovation and we need changes, because schooling, as it has been for however many years we've been sitting behind desks listening to a teacher, is going to change. And even when we go back to school, it's going to be changed. And at this point, we need board members who are here, are invested, and are looking forward to the future, and are willing to innovate, think on their feet, and do whatever it takes to ensure that we uphold our core values of equity, mastery, and a focus on results. And that's what I'm willing to do.
Thank you, candidates. That concludes the question portion of the forum. And now we'll go into the candidates' closing remarks. You will each have 1 minute, and the order of speaking will be the reverse of the opening remarks. So, Ms. Jones-Bacon, we start with you.
So this candidacy has been interesting, to say the least. I have the utmost respect for everybody on this on the stage with us, because there are some amazing candidates here. I think about when Greg said there's no substitute for being in a classroom and witnessing what a teacher's teaching, and when Brittany so awesomely corrected me and said it's not about having a listening ear, but being proactive and seeking constructive criticism. When Chris said he supports and values, social emotional learning. And I'm a mother, and when I'm here, I care and I listen, and I want to represent not just students, not just parents, not just teachers and administrators. I want to represent this entire community and the values and the traditions of this community. I want to ensure that I focus on continuing our values of equity, mastery, and focus on results, while setting the tone for the future of where Bonita Unified will be as the best. Vote Bacon for BUSD.
Dr. Mayer.
So the reason that I'm running for this, for school board, is pretty much the reason for my involvement with various organizations throughout the years, that can be explained in one simple sentence. I love my community, and I believe strongly in public service. And these are the primary reasons why I think you should vote for me. I would like to reopen schools for any person with consideration of safety and well-being of students, teachers, and staff as soon as possible. I wish to emphasize stronger focus on wellness and health, both physical and mental, by providing more tools, classes, or clubs, providing wellness services and mindfulness and fitness nutrition. I would like to also emphasize that parents, guardians have a right and an obligation to be engaged in their child's education, to be involved in the intellectual, physical, emotional, and social development of their child.
Mr. Kryman.
You've heard from the candidates tonight why we want to run, why would be a good choice for the board. From the other candidates, you've heard what they'd like to do if they're elected and the programs they're interested in implementing. I offer you 17 years of proven leadership with proven results. If you'd like a list, I encourage you to visit my website at krymanforbonitausd.com. I'm proud of the growth we've accomplished during my years on the board, and I know there's even more for us to achieve and more room to improve. The immediate near future is going to present our district with some tough decisions. And 17 years in governance, 35 years on the fire ground, have given me the training and experience to make those tough decisions. Your vote for me will ensure that the district continues in the right direction, and that I'll be able to help mentor and train the next generation of board members so they can continue moving Bonita in the right direction and on our climb to greatness. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, visit my website or contact me on social media. And remember to vote for Glenn Kryman on November 3rd.
Ms. Chakmak.
Though we all share a deep respect for the value of education, our world today demands a larger commitment to the overall physical, emotional, and social health of our kids, issues that have literally become matters of life and death. Connections and community protect us and help us to grow. I invite you to join me in the important work of building the community our kids deserve. Please consider voting for me, Krista Chakmak, on November 3rd, and please look at my social media, Chakmak 2020, and thank you to all these candidates. I have a lot of respect for all of them, and I look forward to working with them either on the board or in some avenue for our kids. And also to the Laverne and San Dimas Chambers, thank you for hosting us, everyone here that's made this happen. I really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Mr. Mattson.
Thank you to our Chambers of Commerce for having this and Marilyn for moderating. WSDI is the acronym for the bias, what you see is all there is. Everyone has blind spots based on their own experience and perspectives. Everyone. And if our school board combined still has notable blind spots as a collective, that is a concern and a reason why I'm running. If you've learned anything about me, you've realized I see things from various perspectives. Normal is a fiction I stopped worrying about a long time ago. I care about what is healthy for me, for my family, the people I care about, and for the community I live in. You have 3 votes for the board. Choose an informed, healthy, purposeful future. Good night.
Mr. Otto.
So I think it's easy to say there's no bad choices up here. You know, I've had the pleasure of getting to know everybody up here over the last few months, and I like everybody here. I mean, I'd honestly vote for everybody here too. But, you know, why should you vote for me? Number one, I'm committed, and I love this district. It's you know, I could talk on and on about how much I love this district, but I'm committed. I'm not a politician. I'm a dad. I'm a plumber. I'm a small business owner. You know, there are people who want to push different agendas, and I don't play those games, and I never will. So a vote for me and the board is a vote for someone who can't be bought by other people. I can tell you I always will fight for you, the teachers, the staff, our kids, and the community. And you know, whether or not you vote for me today or not, it's okay. I'm still going to be involved. I'm still going to be a force of nature in this district. You know, I really believe that we can make a difference, and I would love to earn one of your 3 votes on November 3rd. Thank you so much.
Mr. Pilato.
Well, it's game 1 of the World Series, and if you guys are still watching this, thank you, because this election is very important. It impacts my kids, it impacts all your kids, so thank you for those who are tuning in live. We have a diverse board as it is already. We have a teacher, a businessman, a community volunteer, a retired fireman. I am a specialist who provides support for students who don't fit that typical mold and need a little extra help to level the playing field and find their own success. And I really believe that my perspective can be very valuable in adding to make sure all of our kids are successful in the long run, just not getting to the graduation line, but all the way through their life in the community. I'm your candidate that specializes with mental health, special ed, and believes strongly for trade education and school safety. I would love to have a further conversation with you because I only got 10 seconds left, she says. I have an email or website. You can look me up. You can reach me on my website or on Facebook, and I typically respond pretty quickly. And I look forward to partnering with you and working with you all to give our kids the best experience possible. Thank you.
And Miss Allison.
Thank you. I'm big on vision, but the specifics matter too. I will specifically advocate for proactive mental health, for cultivating a culture that is safe and inclusive where every student can thrive. That means we meet students and families where they are, and we recognize cultural differences as strengths. We meet the struggles of the people in our community with empathy, and we always seek to understand first, listening to learn. My work thus far has been dedicated to the community. My days are dedicated to my family and my community through my nonprofit work. We've just been awarded the 2020 Nonprofit of the Year Award for our Assembly District. I am invested. I may not have the most experience in the district on this stage, but my kid is starting Bonita next year, and I've got skin in the game. And it is that optimism and dedication for our future that you get in me, that I hope to represent for you on this board. We have to think creatively and comprehensively and critically. And if you have any questions for me, visit brittany@BUSD.com or email me, vote Brittany Allison for BUSD. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you all for the respect that you've shown each other. Proved to be a great example to our young people. I'd like to thank the Bonita Center of Arts for hosting us, and for LVTV and KWST-TV for broadcasting this forum. Thank you to Terry Muse. She's the chair of the Education Workforce Development Committee for both Laverne and San Dimas Chambers. Thank you to Leah Skinner, Executive Director of the Laverne Chamber of Commerce, and to Sylvia Melendez, the Executive Director of the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce. We'd also like to thank the viewers at home. Thank you for tuning in and for sharing your evening with us, and remind you to vote. Thank you. Good night.